My mother's graduation. My mother's graduation was in December 13, 1998. It was the first good step she took to get a better life. She left her housekeeping job with Almeida herself family and entered school to become a hairstylist. She attended for 4 months in the course she paid 300 pesos for. Her professor was her Aunt Isabel. She made my mother a good stylist. My mother received honors for her good work in the course. She was a very fast learner. Today, my mother has her own beauty salon in Santo Domingo, and she has many customers, including loyal ones of many years. And my mother will tell you that she does have a better life. My mother's and her sister relationship. They are my mother and her little sister Erenia. My mother's sister was the person more important in my mother's life after their mother died. My mother was 18 years old and her sister was 15 years old. Her sister was her soulmate. They even resembled each other. My mother and her sister live just a minute from each other in Santo Domingo today. They are both grandmothers and they are still each other's best friend. The best gift in my mother's life. They are my mother Brigida and her daughter Carolina, Janil, and I. For my mother, her daughters are the reason to live. We are four women in one person. Our mother raised us with love and respect. We parted of time we had to travel to United States, but we have a good communication and good relationship. I have the luck to have the best mother in the world because she is a woman who worked hard to give us what we need, including good education. She did a good job with us because now she has three smart daughters, good mothers, and three working women and wonderful person like her. My mother experiencing new love. They are my mother and my daughter Ashley. She is 3 years old. She is the first granddaughter of my mother. Now they are living together in Bonao City, Dominican Republic, at least 2 months ago. My mother loves her and say, she is the gift that God sent to me. Now I'm going to feel more happy because I don't go to be alone anymore. The happen is my sister and I, we have our life and we live different place. And my mother feel her daughter complete that space. Catastrophe. Hurricane George in Dominican Republic in 1998, it was one of the most dangerous hurricanes at this time. It affected several countries, including Dominican Republic and others. We lost family, animals, and then most people lost their crops. The hurricane destroyed our home. It was submerged by water. I remember to see my mother and my sisters desperate because the water was destroying our stuff and we was alone. We called to a nearby shelter with the help of the neighbors. Tragedy. This part is very hard to me because I lost one cousin in Hurricane George. She was the oldest daughter of my uncle. She was 13 years old when this tragedy happened. The rain was plentiful and wind carried us. Her father had suggested to my cousin, try to cross very careful because water current very strong. So she was holding the rope, used to spend all of the other side of the street. She left go of the rope and the current dragged it far. No one could help her because nobody could find her until the next day when the waters were calm, but she was already dead.
My father moved to the city. My father was born in March of 1949 in Dominican Republic, a town named Galvan. He lived in the town a long time and he decided to move to the city because there they had more opportunities for him. He left all my family in the town. He came to the city in March of 1973 when he was 24 years old. My father has been living for 5 years in a building under construction. He went to a construction building to find work, and they give him construction work, doing house, building, and store. He needed to sleep, but he didn't have the place for that, and he slept in the same area of construction, in three boxes on the floor. Sometimes he bought food already, and at night he made dinner in empty cans of sauce, green peas, corn, and sometimes with three bar. He with sometimes with three bark. He was in the same situation for 5 years. My father became a police officer. In June of 1978, he went to the police department and he got into the service. He started working in the police department. That was his favorite part because he was doing simple and great things. For 8 months, he was doing activities, some hard and some easy, as keeping the place clean, doing exercise, and studying firearms. A friend of my dad helped a lot. He had a best friend called Jimena. He was always right there where my father needed him. He was a general in the police. He offered my father the job and a house to live in. At that time, my father only paid 20 pesos a month for the house. My father married. In December of 1984, he met my mother and he married her. After 1 year, she was pregnant with my brother, and 3 years later, I was born. A few years later, my last three brothers were born.
My grandmother's birth. She is my grandmother. Her name is Sofia. She was born in October 13, 1932, in a small town of Dominican Republic called Llano del Higo. When she was 10 years old, she started work in agriculture to provide support to her family. She never had time for school. Her life was just working to survive. When she got married. When she was 21, she met a man called Pablo, and they got married on December 24, 1953. She had 9 children, 5 female and 4 male. When her daughters got intoxicated. When her first 2 daughters were born, one afternoon they were hungry and went out to look for something to eat. And the only thing that they found was a bitter cassava, but bitter like a law. My grandmother was doubtful about the cassava because this type of cassava wasn't edible. A few minutes later, her daughters started having a stomach ache and dizziness. My grandmother was very scared, but she made some homemade remedies to help them feel better. When Hurricane David touched the Dominican Republic. When my grandmother was 49 years old, the Dominican Republic was whipped by a terrific disaster called Hurricane David, which entered in the country on August 31, 1979. She lost 2 of her family and a neighborhood. She felt so sad and disconsolate because she couldn't help anybody.
My grandparents' 8 years anniversary. My grandparents celebrate their 8-year anniversary in the Palmas in Dominican Republic. Their 13 children were very happy and also the whole family. My christening party. The day of my christening party, my mother told me they were my good parents and whole family gave me a cake and they put water on my head. I was very blessed by God. My first year with my grandparents. My grandparents told me that my first year was fun because many children gave me many gifts. When I was going to shoot photos, I began to mourn and just went to be with my grandmother and my mom. My first year's birthday with my grandmother, that day was one of the best in my life because for me it was something special to have shared with my grandmother. I remember that day like it was today. When my grandfather was in a meeting with the dictator Trujillo, that day my father knew the dictator Trujillo for the first time, and my grandfather told us that Trujillo was very strict.